Hi, I'm Beck. I love books, and here are 7 reasons that we should be bookish friends. Reason number 1. We should be bookish friends if we have a lot of the same favourite books in common. So here are some of my favourite books. I think it goes without saying that one of my favourite books is The Jasmine Throne. The third book of the Jasmine Throne trilogy just came out, I think, in December. Or I got my copy in December. I still haven't been able to read the third installment in this trilogy because I just don't want it to be over. I just do not want this trilogy to be over. So if sapphic fantasy is your thing, then we should be bookish friends. Another one of my favourite books ever is A Day Full of Night by Samantha Shannon. I think that there's something about Samantha Shannon's epic fantasy that just comes to life for me, like no other fantasy books tend to do. I read Pride of the Orange Tree and I loved it, but I absolutely adored A Day of Fallen Night. I remember reading the last section on audiobook, doing gardening outside of my front garden, tears streaming down my face, somebody coming to deliver a parcel, me being unable to even speak to them because this book, it shook me so much. Might also be one of the queerest books I've ever read. If you also love that book, we should be bookish friends. Sticking to fantasy, Prison Healer is one of my favourite trilogies of all time. I don't know where it came from. I had it from a fairy loot, I think. I got it ages ago. And a group of my friends on Instagram and I read it together, and we absolutely loved it. Devoured it, waited with bated breath for the third installment. It is, I think, one of the best trilogies of all time. I don't see enough people talking about it. I think that if you have read this, or if you like books with trials, this is your thing. I also have Babel here by R.F. Quag. I have a nice little boxed copy of it. I would have had the Poppy War here as well in this little pile, but I don't know if you can see which direction is it. Up here? It's up here on my bookcase and I can't reach it. Poppy War would have been here as well, but there's something about how rich Babel was, and there was something about the magic of the language and the translation that really, really spoke to me. It was crucifying at times to be, I don't know, held accountable for actions of those that came before you. Horrifying, but absolutely compelling. If you like this book, we should be bookish friends. It's not just fantasy that I love, but I have another couple of fantasy books as well to show you. One of them is Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. I love Raybearer. It is one of the best first books in a series, in a duology, that I have ever read in my life. The characters are fantastic. The world that is created is absolutely compelling. I would not say that the sequel lives up to the hype of the first book, sadly. But the first book is just worth reading, even if you don't find out what happens with the end of the story. So Raybearer is also one of my ride or dies. And my final fantasy offering, as a plea as to why we should be bookish best friends, is I've actually only got Celestial Monsters with me because I have lent a young person that I know the Sunbearer Trials. But it is the Sunbearer Trials by Aidan Thomas. And these book covers are so beautiful. I can't stop looking at them. This is a trilogy that hits both books, I think. Both books are fantastic. It's another book with trials. I wonder what on earth my favourite trope could be. But and again, it's the world building in this that I loved. The characters are fantastic. It is young adult. You have to bear that in mind. But another fantastic fantasy book. If you liked this book, then we should be bookish best friends. Just realised, because I don't have a physical copy of it, I forgot one of my favourite series of all time, which is the Daevabad series. I cannot believe it took me so long to read them. I only read them last year for the first time. Devoured the entire trilogy and the short story collection that comes with it. I think that anybody who likes fantasy books, I can't imagine any reason that you would not love these. They are just epic, beautiful books. One of my favourite writers. It's not just fantasy though. I do have a couple of literary fiction offerings. One of the best books I read last year was this collection here of short stories, 13 Ways of Looking at a Fat Girl by Mona Awad. I don't know if this spoke to me as a plus size girl or if it was just fantastic all round. I have never heard very many people talking about this apart from myself. I thought it was brilliant. It was funny, it was horrifying, it was necessary. It was really, really essential. Loved it. If you have read this, if you liked it, well, we should be bookish best friends. If it sounds like your sort of thing, I recommend that you pick it up. I also love poetry, and here are two of the best poetry collections I read last year. So I have Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear by Musab Abu Toha. It's poems from Palestine. And this one is A Swan's Neck on the Butcher's Block by Jenny Fagan. Absolutely loved both of these poetry collections. So if you're a poetry lover, that is another reason that we should be bookish best friends. Just dropped a book. Glad it wasn't a special edition one. Okay. Reason 2 that we should be bookish friends is based on one of my current reads and upcoming reads. Are we going to be reading the same things? Would you like to connect over it? So currently I am reading Lucy Undying. I am over halfway through now. This has been surprisingly rich and vibrant and hilarious. I've really enjoyed it. If you have read it, let me know. I bought it in the half price Waterston sale on Boxing Day and I really fancied it. I'm really glad that I picked it up. It is so good. Excellent. I'm almost finished that. I'm reading Watermoon just now. It seems very cute, a little bit cozy, but not too cozy for me. I'm not the biggest fan of cozy reads. If this is something that you have read or that you have coming up, then we should be friends. We read the same things. Another upcoming read that I have is Feybound. I couldn't reach my copy of it because it is really high as well on my shelf. I'm running a buddy read of it in February. I can't wait to explore it with people. If it's a book you're interested in reading, you should join us. I'll be running it in Discord and on Instagram. The third reason that we should be bookish friends is because maybe you keep a book journal. Maybe you're a bullet journaler. I am too. We should be friends because of that. This is my current reading journal. Sometimes I fill it in live with a little community on Twitch. Sometimes I just do it as self-care. And with my journal, I wouldn't say that I'm the most minimalistic. I try to be as creative as possible. I try to make the most of mixed media art that I can. I try to really, be expressive with it because I find it's a bit of an outlet for me. So I'll show you what I mean. You'll see a couple of pages. Some of you will have beautifully curated, colour-coded, thematic journals. I look at them and I really am envious. But this is my own form of chaos. So I have lots of sort of ombre bookshelves. I've got a couple of different ones like that because my goal was to read 300 books this year. I think I've already missed that just in January. And then I have logs for my fairy loot books that I make printables online for, logs for my fantasy series Illumicrate books, my reading challenges, of which I do many, more on that coming up later, book brackets, things like that. I really, really enjoy using all sorts of mixed media art with my journal. So if you are a journaler or if you like some sort of creativity like I do, we should be friends. The fourth reason that we should be friends is because I love reading challenges. I love creating reading challenges. I love reading challenges. If you like reading challenges too, what could be better? So this year, my annual challenges are the Diverse Reading Challenge, which I've run for 4 years now, I think. I run it mostly on Storygraph and on Instagram. And there are different categories based on different types of diversification you can do for your reading. It isn't the longest challenge in the world, and I do have a really, really eclectic group of people that take part in it. And the aim is, if you are thinking consciously about what you're reading at all, then it's a win in my book. So the Diverse Reading Challenge is one of my annual challenges. My second annual challenge this year that I'm running is called the Trope Trials. I came up with this map for this fantasy world called Tropelandia, and it's based on different books that have trials in them, because as we've discussed already, trials is my favourite trope. And basically, you have to complete the trials to make it to Sanctuary, where you get some bonus prompts. And it's all different fantasy tropes, and you can either choose just to do one trial and some of the tropes, or you can do all of them. And I share recommendations on Instagram, and we have a group chat full of like-minded fantasy readers who try and read all of the fantasy tropes. As well as my 2 annual challenges this year, I do some challenges just for certain months. So for June, I've run a challenge called Prideopoly. And in Prideopoly, I made a Monopoly board, but I made it really queer. Myself and my friend Bernie made all of the different properties that you could buy, either things that were associated with different sexualities, all the different sexualities and identities in the rainbow that we could fit on the Monopoly board, and also tried to make them prompts that kind of matched the different identities as well, so that you could match your reading with the property. And so you had to read a book that, whatever you rolled, you had to read the book that matched the roll to progress. And so it was just like a big game of Monopoly, and the people that won, that managed to collect the most points and read the most queer books, there were prizes, big sort of queer bookish prizes. We had quite a lot of people doing that online. That was very exciting. I can't wait to do that again this upcoming May. And in October, my other big challenge is a challenge called This Witch Reads, which is a competition between 4 different covens. We have the Dark Magic Coven, the White Magic Coven, the Earth Magic, Green Magic Coven, and the sort of Sea Magic Coven. And I make different prompts for all 4 of those different groups. And it's a competition, and the winning coven, somebody wins a prize. And again, that's such a really good sort of community event that I run. So if you like reading challenges, I run lots of them, I love them, and you are safe in one of my reading challenges. But your TBR will grow, so your TBR is not safe. The 5th reason that we should be bookish friends is because, like I've just mentioned, your TBR may grow. I love particularly championing diverse books. I read a lot of queer books. I would say the vast majority of the books that I read are queer. I am disabled, so I also enjoy exploring particularly disabled female main characters, but all sorts of main characters. I also like exploring books that have plus size main characters, but I feel like plus size main characters are something that is really missing from a lot of the fantasy books that I read. So if you have any fantastic plus size characters in fantasy recommendations, please let me know. I have said this before and I'll say it again. Dragons could absolutely carry a plus size main character. Absolutely. So if you would like some diverse recommendations, then we should be bookish friends. The 6th reason that we should be bookish friends is for all of the community things that I do. So I do reading sprints live twice a week. I do, as you know, the reading challenges. I run lots of buddy reads. I run a Read Queer All Year book club online. We just finished our read for the month, which was Malice, which was fantastic. I've had it on my bookshelf for ages. I'm so glad that I finally got around to reading it because I loved it. I have a Discord server which has lots of people that are like-minded, other queer readers, other readers that really like to diversify their bookshelves, but also readers who are mood readers, fantasy readers. Lovely little community that I've managed to grow there. I also love other readers and creators who are really trying to be creative and explore different boundaries. So if you are somebody like that, if you are trying to record your first YouTube video, like the bumble that this has been, if you are trying to make your first reading challenge, if you are somebody who regularly makes reading challenges, I am really, really excited to get to know you, because that's kind of like me. I'm always trying to push myself to do the next thing. The seventh and final reason that we should be bookish friends is because maybe we have some of the same bookish red flags in common. So here are some of the things that I do that might be controversial. Number one, I buy too many books. I cannot resist a book, especially if it is signed, if it has sprayed edges, if it's special edition in some way. It has to come home with me. I have a beautiful, beautiful place for it. Nowhere on my shelves because they are absolutely stowed. Another sort of bookish red flag of mine is that I not in my special edition books, but I am a page folder. Don't look at me like that. I do fold the pages in to mark where I am. I have an entire thing of bookmarks over on my fireplace. Do I use them? Nope. So if you're a bit toxic like that sometimes, I know some people are spine crackers. I'm not that. I'm not a spine cracker. If you are a little bit like that sometimes, we should be friends. Another one of my bookish red flags is that I love a DNF. Whether it's a soft DNF, a hard DNF, if you're not feeling that book, put it down. Just put it down and walk away. Maybe forever. Another thing that I cannot do is I really, really struggle to separate the art from the artist. So if I love a series of books or love a writer, and then I find out they have done something like be a TERF, I really, really struggle to move on from that ever. So if you are also looking to try and leave some problematic authors behind, I'm here with you. We should be friends. But by far and large, I think my worst bookish red flag is that despite my planning, despite my challenges, despite my buddy reads and my book club and my journaling and the sprints that I do online, I always have been and I always will be a mood reader. Because of the slight ADHD, I constantly have 4, 5, 6 books on the go. I've got an audiobook, I've got a digital book, I've got 2 physical books, one with large font for when my eyes are tired, one with smaller font. And if any of them I'm not in the mood for, they'll just sit there for a couple of months. I will plan to read a book with you and then I'll accidentally read an entire series before I get to it. I am a mood reader through and through. So if you are also a mood reader, welcome. If you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. This is much harder to do than I expected. Just me sitting rambling to nobody. If you have got any recommendations of some other like-minded creators, like-minded booktubers that I can follow, that I should check out, please comment down below and let me know who they are. And if you think that we would get on and we have the same taste in books, also let me know. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.